Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Quack&Co, the channel where everything is under 10 minutes all the time, every time. And this is a highs and lows review of Monsterpocalypse from Mythic Games and Privateer Press, currently on Kickstarter, link in the description down below. Now, Monsterpocalypse at its core is basically a monster fighting game. It's a game where you have two monsters, or perhaps more. There's a whole lot of modes for this. We'll talk about that in the video. But you have these monsters that will be going head to head, trying to bring your opposing monster's life force down to 0. Along with that, you have your supporting units, a variety of units that will help take down the other monsters, secure buildings, get in the way, generally try to intimidate and annoy and frustrate your opponent, ideally while helping you along the way. Past that, you have all these buildings that you'll be stomping into, throwing monsters into, stomping the ground in order to destroy little units around you. You're basically a super monster. You're Godzilla. You're rampaging through Metro City, destroying everything while Megamind is off somewhere else doing his own stuff or whatever it is. This is a monster fighting game. As far as the highs and lows, let's start with the highs. And the highs are going to be two things. First of all, the miniatures. At the end of the day, this game is a game that's about the visual appeal on the table. This is a game that's about the spectacle that you're not just watching, the spectacle that you are involved with as you destroy things, as you build them up, as you go head to head with the monsters, and the gorgeous miniatures from Mythic Games and Privateer Press, they are certainly something to add. I mean, the Kickstarter is chock full of new miniatures, of old miniatures, of epic Apex Predator versions of some of your favorite classics from this line. The miniatures, Mythic Games in general, I think they have some of the best miniatures in board games right now, and that is very much being brought to the table with Monsterpocalypse. And then secondly, goes back to that spectacle aspect, that time when you stomp the ground, when you throw some, when you pick up Gorkahadra and you do a special attack toss, rampaging through a bunch of miniatures into the building, resulting in a burnt zone over here. He takes 3 damage, you destroy a bunch of enemies, you kill some buildings, some structures. He meanwhile goes ahead and moves over here, walks over here, picks up one of your tanks over here, and flings it across the board into you. It's all about the spectacle. It's all about being that Godzilla, being that King Kong, and going through, except not with actually Godzilla and King Kong, but rather with, Gorkahadra and Defender X and whatever other gigantic monsters, including Cthulhu-esque monsters, that will be over on the Kickstarter. So it's very much both between the miniature production quality and what you're doing in the game. This is a game that's about rolling dice, smashing things, and having fun with what you're doing. Which brings us to the lows. And the first low is the fact that this game is a lighter game. This is a game where there is strategy. To be very sure, the strategy as you decide how to activate your units and your monsters, as you decide how to position your units, as you decide which special attacks are the best situational move at any given time, given the current battlefield, and also what your next 2 or 3 turns out are. So there is strategy in the game, but all that strategy is still ends up with a whole lot of dice rolling, and it ends up with a limited amount of just how much you can do. You take into account some of the abilities of the building, some of your abilities, your opponent's abilities, but at least when you're going head-to-head in the 2-player version of this game, which is the primary mode, there's going to be a limit to just how much the strategy actually goes down. But then, secondly, the next low, and it really ties into the first, is the price point to get in on this game versus that strategy aspect. Now, not that dissimilar to Dice Throne, Marvel Dice Throne that we covered last week on the channel. This is a game that has a fairly high price tag for a game that is a lot of fun, but also lower on the strategy. So you have to decide what you're willing to do. And this is one of those weird paradoxes where, technically speaking, there shouldn't really be a correlation between the heaviness of a game and the cost of a game, but sometimes there is. Sometimes a lighter game is a little harder to sit there and say, yeah, I'll go ahead and pay $120 for that core pledge over there. I want that rolling dice, miniature chucking, whatever. And if you just got Marvel Dice Throne last week, you may have expended your lighter yet fun strategy, but light strategy games for your budget at the moment. So that's something to factor in as far as the lows. It is a fun game. It is an epic game. It has strategy, but it's an expensive price point with a high price tag, expensive price point with lower strategy at the same time. Past that, let's talk about the other player modes, because that might be something that convinces you, because along with that high price tag, you're not just getting what you see on the table here. You're getting something like 8 different gigantic monsters. You're getting a whole bunch of swarms of different miniatures to support them. You're getting a variety of different buildings, tons of stuff to actually support that. Again, it's not that you're not getting a lot for it. You're getting a lot for it. You just have to decide if that's what you want. But then past that, excuse the awkward text message thing. Past that, you have the various play modes as well that the Kickstarter will be bringing to the table. You have your typical 2 versus 2 head-to-head, but past that, you have Battle Royale, you have Cooperative, you have Free-for-All, you have Team Play, you have 3 monsters, Epic 3 versus 3 monster mode, you have a cooperative mode against these Apex Predators that will be in the game, these expanded, more heavier, harder versions of the same monsters, some of the classics from the Privateer Press Monsterpocalypse line. That's basically your highs and lows review of Monsterpocalypse. A lot of fun, a lot of epic moments, some beautiful components, and epic table presence, combined with a high price tag and a little lighter on the strategy side. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Quack&Co, and have a good one.